I'm Mary Jo Bisceglia. I am a former teacher at Fox Chapel. I taught for 33 years. I was a reading specialist at Kerr for the first year, and then 2 years in 6th grade at Fairview, and my last 30 years at 4th grade at Fairview. I've always felt blessed that I could teach in the district that I went through. I subbed for 4 years and was offered jobs in other school districts, which I turned down because I knew my ultimate goal was always to come back to Fox Chapel and give back to the kids in the area what I had received.
When and why did you become a teacher?
I had great teachers at Kerr Elementary, and I always wanted to be a teacher. When I was a little girl and we played, I was never the student, I was always the teacher.
When you were a student, who was your favorite teacher?
Her name was Esther McConnell. She was my 2nd grade teacher at Kerr Elementary. We had a sea unit, all about the sea. And every Friday, she would bring in a seafood. And one was shrimp, one was oysters, one was clams. And she got us really engaged and interested. And my love of seafood started with Mrs. McConnell.
What was your favorite lesson unit or activity that you did?
Before the whole peanut allergy thing, when we were allowed to bring food in, I would bring in pies on March 14th. And we did a pie lesson, 3.14, and the lesson was, we always eat pie on March 14th. So we would have the pies and we would learn about circumference of a circle, and that was probably the lesson that I enjoyed teaching the most.
What was the funniest or most entertaining moment from your time as a teacher?
Okay, can I tell you two?
Sure.
Okay. The first one was, it was the first week of school, and I had twins. I had one of 2 twins. And he said, "Can I go to the library?" I said, "Sure." Well, it was 20 minutes later, and he comes toddling in with one book, and I just looked at my watch. I didn't say a word, and he went like this. And I said, "Yes." And he said, "It was a debacle down there." I said, "In the library?" I said, "Mrs. DeGespy, she runs a pretty tight ship. I'm surprised to hear it was a debacle." And he looked at me and he went, "Kindergartners." And so that one, and the other one was, I had a different ability student in my room. And he always wanted to be the first in line. So he was always the first in line. I walk in, everybody else walks in, I walk in, he's sitting at my teacher desk. He has my coffee cup, he has my reading glasses down to here, and he has a pencil or a pen behind his ear. And I said, "So-and-so, what are you doing?" And he looked at me and goes, "Now I am the teacher." And so I thought, this is how they see me. They don't see me teaching, they see me sitting there with a pen behind my ear and a coffee cup. So I think those two stand out as the funniest things. There were many, but those two probably stand out for me.
What was the biggest challenge that you witnessed in your profession?
Technology. Y'all have to understand that as I was kind of driving out of Duquesne University, when I graduated, literally the trucks were coming up the hill with computers. And if it wasn't for the newbies, if it wasn't for the kids, if it wasn't for the Michael Franks of the world, I probably couldn't have handled the last few years of teaching because I just was having trouble keeping up with all the technology.
How have advances in technology such as internet and smartphones, how have those impacted teaching during your career?
There were a lot of positives. I think that the kids were able to do things that I never imagined that would be happening. I also think there were some negatives. I think that not all technology is used for good. And I believe that there was some cyberbullying that I heard about. And so I guess I have mixed feelings about it.
How did you handle challenging or disruptive students in a way that turned their behavior around?
We set boundaries and we set rules week one. And then I could always refer back to those boundaries and rules. And so, I could ask one question and they would turn it around because they knew that everybody had those rules. And I think the fairness factor is really important when you're teaching. I think if kids know that everybody has the same rules, that they're easier to follow.
So you just put them in their place before anything got out of hand, really?
Right. I mean, you have to start the year setting parameters of what's acceptable and what's not acceptable.
What did you learn from a student that you worked with?
Again, technology. There was always, as time went on and they got better and better, they would kind of know what I could and couldn't do, and automatically, would be like, oh, I can set that up for you. Oh, I can do this. Oh, no, on the smart board, you're supposed to do this. And so, as trite as it sounds about being a lifelong learner as a teacher, you really are. And they knew more about technology than I did. And so I used their skills. It made them feel important, and it made me feel relieved because I couldn't do it.
Probably know more than I do.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know how to set up an email. What are the most important qualities of a great teacher?
Sense of humor, patience, kindness, being able to see things through, in my case, a 10-year-old's eyes, enjoying the moments that you have with the kids and those light bulb moments where you're teaching and you see somebody get it. But probably sense of humor is number one.
What was the most challenging part of being a teacher? I went over that.
Technology. I hate to be redundant.
We already went over that.
But it really was. I mean, for me, it really was. And keeping up with it.
Yeah.
Because technology changes so quickly.
Yeah.
So as soon as I mastered what I thought I mastered, the smartboard, they'd bring a new smartboard in. Okay, and I'd be like, here we go again.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was never the kids, it was never the parents, it was never admin. It was always just keeping up with the technology. I still wanted to write my plans longhand.
What was your most rewarding part of being a teacher?
The moment that you realize that the information that you're trying to impart on another human being, they get it. And especially with 9 and 10-year-olds, it's very clear, okay? In high school, when you get it, you go, oh, I get it. In 4th grade, when you get it, it's like, I got it. I got it. And they're raising their hand and they're smiling and there's such a sense of accomplishment when you see that the kids are learning, truly learning, not memorizing, because that's a whole different ballgame. They get it.
If you could give one piece of advice to parents and the general public about the importance of teachers and education, what would it be?
I had a poster up in my room that said, childhood should be a journey, not a race. And I think that sometimes we want to get them to read faster. We want them to learn their multiplication facts faster. We want them to do everything faster. We want them to win instead of just enjoying, especially in the younger grades, the journey of education.
It's the shortest moment of our life, but still one of the best, though.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Experience it for the first time. How has teaching influenced your life outside of the classroom?
I think it's made me more organized. I think it's made me a better multitasker. And I hope that it's made me more empathetic, more patient, more inclusionary. Because when you see a child outside of the classroom and they're misbehaving, there's a million reasons why that could be happening. So I try to be less judgmental because you just don't know the whole story.
What advice would you offer to a first-year teacher?
Enjoy the moment, balance work and fun, realize that you're one of the most important role models because you spend more waking hours with your students than anybody during the school year. Have fun. Don't be vanilla. Make it engaging. Love your children.
What would you like to say to your former students who are watching this right now?
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be a little part of your journey. And especially thank you to the ones who have stayed in my life, whether it be through Facebook or bringing their children to see me. I am truly blessed to have maybe been had a small impact on not hundreds, probably thousands, because you have to understand we rotated. So I didn't just have my homeroom for 33 years. I would have other students. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of your lives.